Hashtag the basement floor is real. My name's Dave Kent. Hashtag the basement floor is real. My name's Dave Cannon. Of course, we are back. 2018, big year, new things. And of course, I got one half of the legendary hip-hop group. If you've never heard of this group before, right now, you are just not hip-hop. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for my guy, your guy, the legendary Smooth B from Nice and Smooth.
Yeah, what's going on, y'all? What's happening, Belly?
Smooth B, what's going on, my brother?
Oh, man, everything's great, sir. Just holding it down. How you, man?
Hey, man, listen, it's a pleasure to have you on here. You are an icon of legendary status. Nice and Smooth killed it in the late 80s, early 90s, all the way through the mid 90s. Just a classic hip-hop group, my brother.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Yeah. Anything good, man. Feels great to be appreciated, my brother.
Absolutely.
Hey, yo, I'm out here on the West. That's why I was thrown. You know what I'm saying? It's 6:30 out here, man.
Okay, good. All right, so let me ask you this. Let's go. Greg Nice and Smooth B, how did you guys meet up? How did the whole thing come together where you guys decided to become a group before your first album even came out?
Yeah, I mean, we both grew up in the Bronx, you know what I'm saying? And we was introduced by a mutual friend. And it was like we were both working in the game, doing different things. Greg Nice was working with Tila Rock. I was working with Bobby Brown. And I used to write his raps and all of that. And I was singing background with him when I was on tour with him. And I met this guy on while we was on tour. And then he had told me about Greg. So I was like, yeah, all right, boom, boom, boom. So when we got back off tour, I realized that the dude lived in the Bronx as well. So one day, we met up, and then he took me and I met Greg. And we started building, and Greg had a partner at that time named June Love. And long story short, I was solo with my shit, and they was a group, and we had demos that we had made. We were playing songs, and we was like, yeah. It was like, damn, our style fit, man. We all are compatible. One day we got to do a record together. Mm-hmm. And then, boom, we was like, all right, bet. I went back on the road with Bobby. A couple of weeks later, within that time period, unfortunately, it was a tragedy because June Love had got murdered. Mm. You know what I'm saying? And the deep part about it was June Love. Like, his name was June Love. He got murdered on Valentine's Day. You know what I'm saying? And he was shot in the heart. So that shit was crazy. You know what I'm saying? I was like, what? Mm. And so long story short, I came back off the road. I was like, what? Boom, boom. Then we said we was going to make a song dedicated to June. You know what I'm saying? So we did the song Skill Trade. And it was actually, we did two songs. We ended up doing two songs. We did Skill Trade and this other one called Dope on the Rope. Mm. And we put that, made that an A-side and B-side. We pressed it up ourselves. Went store to store with it. You know what I'm saying? We did that whole thing. And then we got picked up by Sleeping Bag Records. Then boom, we made that first album with Funky Few and all that good shit on it.
So now the first album, you guys produced it says written, produced, you guys produced the project. Is that right?
Exactly.
What was that process like? Did you guys just both bring the beats to the table? Did someone do? How did the production of that first album go? Because the first thing I heard was early to rise, you gotta get paid. Early, crazy, and it killed it. What was the process like, production wise, producing that and putting that whole thing together?
We were creative forces, and so we just put it all together. It was like I had a vast record collection. My mom's had mad records, all from the 60s and 70s and all of that. Mm-hmm. So we was digging joints out of like G came to my crib. He's like, yo, man, you got a couple of crates over here, we was fucking. And G was a beat dude. He always liked to make beats and beat on the drum machines and shit like that. So, and I was always just, my whole routines was sing along and all that type of shit. I was always on that.
Right.
So we came together and we started writing routines together. And then once we started looking through the records, we said, yo, you got this. Yo, you got this beat. Yo, hold on, fuck that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then we started going to spots like downstairs records and different spots and cop and break beats and flipping them. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, G did all the beats actually, and I wrote most of the routines and the songs and shit.
Now, did y'all set it up? Greg.
For that first album.
Okay, Greg Nice seems to be the play type rapper, that adds a lot of the the funny stuff in the songs, and you seem to be a little bit more of the lyrical. Not that Greg's not lyrical, but you seem to bring more of the lyrical content. Did y'all orchestrate that specifically, or was that just the styles that y'all had when y'all met and it blended together, and that's just how it was?
There you go. That's exactly how it was. You know what I'm saying? We were just being ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like we came together, and once we came together and blended our creativity, that's what you got. You know what I'm saying? And so we, back then it was about authenticity, and you had to have your own style and everything. So that's how we approached it, and we just, we blended it together, and the rest is history. Yeah, that's how we did it.
Make It Funky for You. The video, crazy. The hook, crazy. How did that song come together?
Okay, let me tell you an interesting story. Okay, so now we had our background singers. They were called Pure Blend. Mm-hmm. You had Teddy Blend, Flash Blend, Stewart Blend, and wait, hold on, I'm bugging. And I said Teddy, Flash, Stu, and Will.
Okay.
Will Blend. Right? Peace and blessings be upon him. Will passed away a few years ago. But then he was like, they all could sing lead, but he was more or less the lead vocalist of Pure Blend. And so I had met those guys previously, like years before that, like in 1983, I met them at a talent show. You know what I'm saying? And it was funny because, man, back then, they separated rapping from singing. Right. Most of the rap songs really didn't have too many melodies. They weren't accompanied by strong melodies in the later 80s. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Before that, it was sing-alongs, and then it kind of strayed away from it to where people just rhymed and maybe cut in the a lyric from what they like. Okay, I'll give you an example. Like LL came out with "I Need a Beat." Mm-hmm. So when it came back to the hook, he said, "I need a beat." And that was like the hook of the song.
Right.
Saying "I need a beat." Or Kane came out with "I get raw." You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't no sing along. It didn't have none of that melody. That melody was being strayed away.
Right.
And the industry itself wanted to separate hip hop from R&B. Mm. You know what I'm saying? And that was a part of my vision. Because what I grew up upon was the Cold Crush Brothers, Fantastic Romantic 5 MCs, and all of them in the Bronx. And they always had some melodies and the Force MDs, you know what I'm saying? Or the Force MCs they were back then.
Right.
And so long story short, that was part of my inspiration. So I said, I want to add on to this in another level. I want to mix the two. Mm. And so I always had this vision of having background singers singing in conjunction with my songs. Long story short, the day before it was time for us. Now, years passed by. I meet these guys at a talent show in Norman Thomas High School, Pure Blend. Right? Okay. On a handshake, I was like, yo, one day, man, we're gonna do this, because I was in the talent show rhyming, and they were singing. Mm-hmm. But when we was backstage, I started singing with them. And I knew a lot of the old songs that they were singing, and so I blend in with them. And they was like, yo, so what you sing? I said, nah, rap. So he was like, man, you should sing, man, because, rap, man, this shit ain't going to last. I said, that shit going to last, nigga, watch. I said, it's going to be here for a long time. Trust me, you know what I'm saying? So I told him, I expressed it to him that I had a formula that I wanted to use, and one day, hopefully, I could incorporate them. And years went by. Mm-hmm. These guys went on to win Top Dog at the Apollo, and all this other stuff, at the time. They'd have these talent shows, Top Dog on Wednesday nights at the Apollo. So long story short, over the years, I would see them. I'd be in the audience seeing them win Top Dog, but I couldn't get backstage. I ain't no record out. So I couldn't get backstage to tell them congratulations or whatever. But I see my dudes doing it. I'll tell you how God works. Next thing you know, it's time. We get the deal with sleeping bags, so forth and so on. And the day before we were going in the studio, we went to an industry party for Uptown Records. Long story short, they were there. Mm. And I have been telling Greg about these. Yo, when I find these dudes, man, they got 4-part harmony, they tough, man. I said, these ideas that I have in my head, man, they'll implement it. And Greg was like, yeah, all right, well, whatever, man. We don't know where they at. Wasn't no internet. We couldn't find these motherfuckers. Wasn't no Facebook.
Right.
So I lost contact with them. And ironically, and the blessing was the fact that literally the night before we were supposed to go in the studio to start that first Nice and Smooth album, we go to the industry party and they're there. Mm. I see them. I tell them, look, man, we got a deal. I break it all down. I'm right there. Nigga, we got a record deal. Tomorrow, yo, boom, 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 we're going to be at Power Play Studio, man. Y'all come through. Boom, 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 boom. Now, Greg had never heard them sing. I said, yo, Smooth. I'm saying to Greg, yo, these are the niggas I'm talking about. We fucking out. The next day they came to the studio, and the next day we did Funky Few, and We Are Number One in one day. Mm. That's how the chemistry, everything just was like, once we got up in there, man, oh my God. It just that's the magic. You know what I'm saying? That's the when like minds combine, it's just like you take it to another level.
It sounds like that first album, it sounds like the sound from it, Early to Rise, were number one, No Delay and Funky for You. Dope Not Hype. You got so much going on in that first album. It really set a standard as far as hip hop groups were concerned. Did you guys think that was the case as you were recording it, or were you just really just trying to do an album to try to put something together and just see what it does? Did you really have the foresight to think, this was going to be that kind of thing?
Absolutely, because you got to understand this. When you coming up and you watching, all you got to remember, Slick Rick, Dana Dane, they're all our peers.
Right.
So they're all putting out records before us, and their records are dope.
That's right.
So we're saying to ourselves, man, we got to, at least that's how I saw it. I was like, man, we got to come out on another level, B. And we got to incorporate our fun. We got to incorporate how we are. And we just got to put this shit on these records. And it was just like, and that's how it happened. Every time a beat got laced up, we just like, oh, all right, I got something for this. And it just, I wish I would have filmed more of those days, boy, because it was amazing. The process was amazing.
Right. Now, Smooth, let me ask you this. Pimpin' Ain't Easy. We talking about 89 on Kane's second album. The song was bananas. Everyone in my area in New York was going crazy. How did you guys link up with Kane on that album? And was there a relationship there before that led to that? How did that whole thing go down?
Oh, yeah, well, definitely. We were boys, all of us. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we were all peers. We used to hang out together in the Latin quarters and all of that, and we ain't have nothing but love for Kane, you know what I'm saying? So the thing was, Greg, him and Kane used to hang out a lot. They used to always hang out. And I used to hang out with Biz, Bismarck, so that was the irony. So I'd always be out in Jersey hanging out with Biz, and Greg would be in Brooklyn hanging out with Kane. So when Kane was putting the album together, he was like, yo, boom, want me? So Greg said, yeah, man, I got this song, Pimpin' Ain't Easy, man, I want you to Smooth to be on it. So I bet. So then Greg called me up and and then we did it. So we just went in there and knocked it out.
And now your first album is Sleeping Bad Records. At some point, you switched over to, is it Def Jam or Rush Associated? It looks like for the second album. Is that right?
Yeah. It was Def Jam / Rush Associated labels. Yeah. Yep.
The second album, first off, the first song I'm hearing off the second album is Hip Hop Junkies. And it took it to another level. Y'all was already on an incredible level. 91, summer 91, Hip Hop Junkies comes out. It's bananas. How did that, what going into that, because 89, it appears 89 was maybe the first album dropped. It's a 2-year period. What is the process as you're going into your second album? What's that process like, and how do you come up with that as your first single?
All right, check this one out. Okay, so from the first album, man, you're asking great questions. I like you. So check this out. The first album, so now you got to remember, the first album, right before we get certified, so we basically certified gold, right? And then the label files bankruptcy and goes out of business.
Wow.
That's why it took, 2 years between, because then we got picked up by Def Jam. Okay. So now at that point, it's like, it leaves us in a position because labels wasn't going out of business back then. You know what I'm saying? So what's going on?
Right.
So boom, boom. So we just stayed at it, started making some joints, and our common frame of mind was, we're not one-hit wonders, you know what I'm saying? And so people just thought they'd never hear from us again. They're like, damn, man, that was a good first album. Things went out. I don't know what's going to happen. And then when we got picked up by Def Jam, we started just, going in the lab. Now, before we got picked up, we started going in the lab anyway, just working on some stuff. So I was staying in Jersey City, and right across the hall from me was our man, Harvey Fly, and he was our bass player, because we was implementing bass players and drummers in our show in 89.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so my man, he was my neighbor. He lived right across the hall from me. So he had pre-production, set up and everything in his crib. One day I was coming home. I was on the PATH train coming out to Jersey. Now, I'm from the Bronx, originally from the Bronx. So I moved out to Jersey City, blah, blah, blah. All right. So now I'm coming home, and I don't know if it was a Sam Goody. It was some type of store like that.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you're coming out, Journal, I think it was Journal Square was the stop. So I come out, and some just said, go in there. Fuck it. And I had a thing for, I'd go in record stores and raid their 99-cent box. You know what I'm saying? Looking for different shit. I just get 99-cent cassettes. I look through there. I was like, there's some gems in this motherfucker.
Right.
So I went in there, started digging through the box. I snatched out a couple of joints. I see this joint that says 60s, oldies were goodies or whatever. So I snatched the 60s, oldies were goodies. Come back to the crib. Boom, boom, boom. I'm chilling. I put the cassette in. I started listening to it. Then the next thing you know, Partridge Family shit. Come on, ba 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 ba. And David Cassidy, rest in peace. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But so the joint comes on. I'm like, yo, that shit sound crazy. Wait a minute, I rewind it. I was like, that shit sound crazy. So like I'm telling you, dude, about half hour later, Greg comes through. He knock on the door. What up, baby? Yo, I'm gonna be next door. You know what I'm saying? You know, I got the blunts and in the 40s, man, beating on these drums and shit. I'm like, all right, bet. Matter of fact, I got some shit for you. And it was so crazy. Me and my G's, me and wifey, we still together now.
Okay.
That was my girl at the time. We first started dating, so she made me some spaghetti and shit. So I'm like, hold on, let me fuck up this spaghetti right quick. But check this cassette out, man. There's some shit on here. So G's like, all right. And so when I gave it to him, it was already cute, the hip hop junkie. So he listened to the whole shit. And then he came back. He was like, yo, that shit sound crazy. I was like, where my nigga? So yeah. Next thing you know, about an hour later, I come over there. I hear bye, bye, bye. I'm like, you done looked it up and shit. I'm like, woo. Oh shit. And I mean, we just sat there, we started thinking about it, you know, a couple of blunts later, we was like, I got a funky ride.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We just put it together, you know what I'm saying? That's how it was, man. It was like when you aligned, it just was the time to do it, you know, everything in its time. So it was like, I come up with an idea, Greg will follow up with something ill. He come up with an idea, I'll follow up, I'll finish it, like, I got you. You know,
right.
So that's how it was. Yeah.
It sounded like y'all was in a zone back then, because another version of it I heard, you actually had a Spanish Fly version of it where y'all was speaking in Spanish, and you know, I'm not Spanish, I wasn't speaking Spanish, but I knew the lyrics. It was so crazy. Right. The Spanish version. Right. How did y'all interpolate that? Where did that version come from?
Man, let me tell you something. Oh man, I'm telling you, we were in did a show in Roseland, and the whole crowd was Latino, man. It was all Spanish people. And it was packed to capacity. And when we were doing our joints from the first album, it was so packed, and they was loving us so much, they were shaking the stage. That shit was insane. I'm looking at Greg like, yo, they fucking love us, son. So we was like, yeah. So we was like, yo, man, they give us so much love. We gotta do something for our Boricuas, man, for our Latino crowd. She said, all right, bet. So let's do a song in Spanish. So it was my boy, it was both our mutual friends' names, Ray Roll, and Ray Roll translated it for us. And so we did it, you know what I'm saying? And at that time, man, needless to say, bro, nobody was doing no shit like that.
Nobody was.
Who was coming up in Def Jam, they was looking at us like we was from out of fucking space, bro. Right. They was like, yo, these dudes is aliens. What are you talking about? You rhyming and shit. First y'all niggas coming over there with all this singing shit.
Right.
Now y'all turning around and y'all coming there speaking another language. Y'all niggas bugging. And we was like, yo, listen now, play it, just service this shit to Puerto Rico. Send it over there, man. Come on, man. Let's touch these motherfuckers. Let's go around the world with this shit.
Right.
They couldn't see the vision. That's why they never promoted it. I was like, y'all are bugging. Next thing you know, the birth of reggaeton, my niggas.
Yeah, it was a crazy album, crazy song, both tracks. But then, of course, you can't. I mean, when you're talking about Ain't a Damn Thing Changed, you can't go by without talking about Sometimes I Rhyme Slow, Sometimes I Rhyme Quick. Smooth B, you had the monstrous lyrics on that. I don't know no one in hip hop that doesn't know that verse. How did that come about, and what was your inspiration and what you wrote in that? Is there a true story there, or did you just come through it?
I'll tell you that actual fact. It's totally true. What I did was, at that moment in time, you know, it was going through different shit. You know, the success of the album, the loss of some friends, and different things were triggering different thoughts and emotions and memories in my mind. So what I did was, I took 3 pivotal relationships and turned them into one. You know what I'm saying? And so it was like different things within that. Like I had a girl that got strung, you know, fell victim to drugs. And then I had a girl that crashed my car. And I had another girl. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, bet. I'm putting all this shit together. I'm gonna call her Jane Doe. And I'm gonna express these different aspects of that, you know, reality and that pain. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully somebody like it.
Wow. Crazy. That was a crazy project. Somewhere after that, when we get to 92, I heard something that just was, you know, I'm now listen. I'm a Nice and Smooth fan. I'm a hip hop fan. I'm EPMD. I'm everything hip hop. But I heard this song, and the track was just a crazy track. And it starts off where you hear Greg, nice, and smooth beat, and it's a song called Dwick where there's no hook in it. It's a primo gangstar, Nice and Smooth, and it's the illest. It killed the entire summer. How did that come about? You guys linking up with Gangstar, and on that type of track, the track was just bananas. No hook. I don't think they was doing it back then. No hook. Crazy. Talk about that one.
Oh man, let me tell you. First of all, super shout out to Guru, and a shout out to my man DJ Premier, man. That's my heart. I love him, and we were boys, man. And at one time, Guru was originally from Boston, and Premier is from Texas.
Okay.
But these guys end up together in New York. They formed. They was living in Brooklyn. Then they moved up to the Bronx. Or they might have been in the Bronx first. I know one thing. When I met them, they was in the Bronx, and they ain't lived too far from me because I was staying on 183rd and Webb, and they was like 183rd and University. So Greg used to always go over there, and those was our boys. So if you notice, on the Ain't a Damn Thing Changed album, we did a song with Guru.
Right.
And we
Down the
did the beat for Manifest.
Right.
And so that was on that album, and called Down the Line, and that shit was sick. Big shout out to Bass Blaster, Mellow T. Those were some of the MCs. Preacher Earl. You know what I'm saying? And real quick, on that song Down the Line, I'm sure you're familiar with it. There's a rhyme. One of the artists, people didn't even know to this day that he was white. He's Irish. And his name is Bass Blaster. And so he was the first one doing the tongue twisting shit.
Right, the Bass Blaster.
Bass Blaster.
With a tongue twisting rhyme. Right.
And he's like, you know how he was insane. So, that was all a part of it. We wanted to bring them out, some form of song, but shit happens. So now let's fast forward to 92. We always said we was going to do another song with Gangstar and do one for their album. So we was trying to figure it out, and everybody's doing their thing. And boom, we end up getting together finally and eventually to do Dwick, man. And it was just like, man, listen. By the time I heard the beat, I actually got the beat 2 days before we went in the studio. Right? I didn't get a chance to sit with it and really, because certain tracks I like to sit with and really, and then I zone out or whatever. It depends. And then sometimes I just run up in the lab. But that particularly, I wanted to live with it longer. So anyway, the day comes, G ready, everybody ready. So he spit his rhyme, Guru spit his rhyme. I still got my pen and pad out. I'm like, trust me, I got y'all. Trust me. He was like, yo, word, how you feel? No, I feel good, my nigga. I just got this motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? Because the whole thing, G had the beat, but the nigga was riding around and smoking blunts. Oh, shit, I ain't never make a copy for you. Damn. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn, nigga. So anyway, so I'm sitting there. I'm writing the shit. Blowing L's. And so one thing led to another. Everybody ended up leaving out the studio, to go get some more blunts and go get some more weed. I was still sitting there. Next thing you know, the last thing that Guru said to me as he was walking out there, he said, yo, man, you want to bring some Phils or something? You want to bring some Phillies or something? I said, yeah, bring me back some L's. So I got the smoke right here. So I bet. So I couldn't think. My thing was I had portions of it. Certain things coming to me, but I didn't know exactly. The intro sometimes, when you come with the intro, then the rest follows.
Right,
so I was like, what is the first thing I'm going to say, man? And I thought about the last thing that he said to me. So that's why I said Keithy E, because Guru, his first rap name was Keithy E. So I said, yo, Keithy E, I left my Philly at home. Do you have another? I want to get blunted, my brother. And then after that, the rest just, now may I make a mark? It all came out. Then make a spoiler. I just went ham after that. So, but it was dope. I mean, you hear that joint, like everybody was on their A game, like
it was crazy. It was. Did you guys decide? Was it known where that song was going to go? That it was going to go on a Nice and Smooth album or Gangstar, or was that just a song y'all did and then wherever it landed, it was going to land? It hadn't been decided yet.
Well, definitely, we knew it was definitely going to be. The initial plan was to have it on the Gangstar album and have it on the Nice and Smooth album.
Okay.
And then at that time, collabos, if you remember, You look at history, collabos weren't big.
Right.
So labels just wanted to have the artists to themselves and all that other shit. Like, why you gonna do something with that person? Why you gonna do, whatever stuff? It was a hard sell, believe it or not. We was like, yo, because they didn't hear it first. They just heard the mere idea. Like, we came to Def Jam and said, we're getting ready to do a record with Gangstar. We're going to put it on our album, and they're going to put it on their album. And Leo was like, why you going to do a record with Gangstar? You don't have to do it. I said, what are you talking about? Those are boys, man. Fuck that. We getting ready. This shit going to be fire. So he's like, all right, whatever. Let them put it on their album. I was like, okay, shit, knock yourself out. And then, they later heard Dwick was like, damn. I was like, I tried to tell y'all, man. Come on.
Smooth. How did y'all come up? How did y'all come up with the name Dwick?
Dwick was a dick joke. So
Okay.
So originally like somebody say, hey yo, niggas say, huh? My dick.
Right.
My dick. then you be like, Dwick. Like Dwick. We would do that all the time. So it was like once we did it, we didn't know what to call it. So it was like, fuck it, we call it Dwick. Dwick. So, it was a giant dick joke for the world.
Now, let me ask you this. You just mentioned something that was key, especially with Def Jam. How difficult was it at that time if you wanted to record something with someone that was a reputable artist such as yourself? Was it really that much pushback if they weren't on the label? And if so, did that lead to a lot of collaborations that would have been done, maybe not necessarily getting done?
Exactly. That was another groundbreaking aspect of Dwick. Because when we did it, nobody else was doing it. And so it was so much politics, it was a lot going on. And how we going, it was just a lot of, I don't know, greed more or less. Like, nah, I don't want to share publishing. I don't want to, people was tripping. Right. So it was like, look, and let us just do this because they have a fan base. We clearly overstood the fact that Gangstar has a fan base and we have a fan base. And if we bring them both together, man, it's better for everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but that was another lesson that had to be learned. You know what I'm saying? So,
now you
go ahead.
No, listen. You guys were groundbreaking at that time. A lot of groups are out there. At that era. Are you guys feeling at that time like you're competing against any other groups, or are you feeling like your sound and your style is strictly yours and you're kind of in your own lane? What's the vibe like in hip hop at that time?
Absolutely. Oh man, that was totally our vibe because we just was in our own world, and we, once you in your own world and you like it there, you ain't gotta be in nobody else's world. You know what I'm saying? You start to really become oblivious to what anybody else is doing, unless they, if there's inspiration, you know what I'm saying? Like, ooh, that was dope, But it was the competition. We never looked at ourselves as competing with anybody.
Right. Now, Let me ask you this. As it's moving on, we move into like 93, 94. The music changes a little bit. We had Kane on the show, and Kane mentioned that a lot of the MCs at that time started rapping behind the beat and not necessarily on top of the beat. You have your Nas that comes out around 93. You have Big. You have a lot of stuff going on, and this kind of leads up to your next album, The Jewel of the Nile. I thought Ode to the New was incredible. It was a banger in the summer of 94. Out there the same time as One More Chance, the Biggie remix, and a bunch of other stuff. Did you sense a change in the way the music was going at that point?
Yeah. You can definitely sense a change, but at the same time, I believed in what we were doing. I always have, and I just was like, to me, I've always seen it like it's more than enough space for everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you stop and think about it, sure, music was changing, but more so than the sound of the music, what was really changing was the perspective of the labels. So when, let's say you were on the East Coast, we started noticing if West Coast got hot, then the East Coast label started saying, make something that sound like the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? They were literally coming at artists' heads like that, like, well, change it a little bit and make it like this. We're like, look, all you got to do is push what we doing. It's fire.
Right.
And then the deep part about it is being the artist that we was traveling all over the place. So we coming to LA. We going to different places, traveling around the country, traveling around the world, and we hearing our shit in LA. And we like, yo, listen, y'all. All y'all got to do, these artists are loving us. The artists themselves, Snoop, Dre, all of them is coming up to us saying, y'all motherfuckers is bad, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We like, thanks, man, thanks. And we like, yo, push it more in Cali. don't close your eyes to the shit, or don't just necessarily run and try to get West Coast groups now. Work with what you got. You got some dope motherfuckers here. So I started seeing that happen, and that's what birthed songs like Fuck Compton. Like I know my man. I knew Tim Dog personally, and peace and blessings be upon him. But I remember when he was writing it, he was like, "Smooth, I'm just gonna start some controversy." He said, "I ain't got shit against the West Coast. I damn sure ain't got nothing against Compton." He said, "Because I ain't never even been there." He said, "But I'm gonna do this, and it's really like a jab at the record companies because they telling me to change my fucking style.
Right.
So now I'm a rebel. You know what I'm saying? So that was more like a rebellion record, really geared towards the companies. You know, but it was weird to see. You know, that's got dude. I remember when we first went to Def Jam, man. All you hear was the Def Jam artist when you walk down the hall, man. Dude, I came in there one day while we getting ready, right before we about to release. I think it was right before. Well, we was working on Old to the New and the Different. We was working on the third album. We hadn't released it. It was around Dwick time. No, it was a little later than that. No, it was right before we was about to put out Dwick.
Okay.
I walked up in Def Jam, man, and I heard Deep Cover. Right? So I heard Deep Cover, and I'm hearing all the West Coast joints. I'm like, no, that shit is fire. I love it. But why y'all playing? Why y'all ain't playing the motherfucker? You know, it was just
right.
It was weird. So I was like, okay, well, whatever. Shit is changing. So, you know, we just stuck to our guns and do what we do. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, everywhere we went, we always got love, man. We came out here, everybody gave us love. Snoop, Dre, Mac 10, all that. Pop, all of it. Everybody that was it was love. You know what I'm saying? So, but trying to convey that to the industry at that time was difficult.
Did it seem like there was, you know, like you mentioned, a rebellion, and it seemed like that, you know, at the time you had Naughty by Nature, Hip Hop Hooray, you guys have mentioned on that. There was a vibe of fun and like good music with fun, and it seemed like it was changing more to like a street element, lyricism, kind of slow flows. Did that conflict anything, or because it seems like the record companies didn't push? You know, it seemed like they were pushing whatever was maybe going out and hot at the time. And at the time, Snoop and Dre were killing it on the Chronic end. Did you feel that there was some backlash from East Coast artists necessarily, or was that not necessarily the case and everyone was just trying to maintain their own lane?
That's it. Everybody was trying to maintain their own lane. But it was a feeling of frustration because, you know, particularly from the East Coast, they were like, push my shit. I'm signed to you, man. Like, if you push it, it's gonna fly. Don't you know what I'm saying? Don't sit on the side and dick ride. You know what I'm saying? Like they not playing our shit. Like in other words, when we got out here, the radio was playing us. It was always love like that. But the record companies were capitalizing off of their artists, and they were like, nah, fuck that. We believe, and you know what I'm saying? Because it started on the East, so it was their turn. Like you know, it was the West Coast turn, Jack.
Right.
So the West Coast got fully behind they shit when it was the turn. And you notice it even now, like as different music changes or different states become hot. It's supposed to. That's why music expands. You want that part. But when you see it, bro, like, okay, now it's totally different because we got the internet and all that. But for a moment in time, when it was time for the South, when Outkast blew the South out the frame.
Right.
Nobody in the East Coast, they wasn't even signing artists that sound like East Coast. They were signing somebody that sounded like they was from down the road.
Right.
And all this dope talent. And you know what I'm saying? So it was never, you know, real recognized real. So the artists themselves was all good friends. That was the freaky part about it. Because the artists could enjoy each other's craft.
Now let me ask you on that. Let me ask you on that. Was it all, you know, cool with the artists at that time, or was there a little bit of underlining, or maybe groups like yourself, like Nice and Smooth, maybe getting a little bit more billing than other artists, or the newer generation that was coming up, because you had the CNNs, the Mobb Deeps, and you had that era of generation coming up. What was there any sort of resentment that seemed to maybe cater where they wanted to take the style and the music away from the kind of fun party element into something a little bit more deeper, or you know, and did you get any of that vibe at that time? Because it did seem like music, hip hop in general, was somewhat in a changing spot around that 93, 94, 95 era.
The intricate part about Nice and Smooth was the thugs, gangsters loved us. So I never felt like Mobb Deep, dude. We went on tour with Mobb Deep. We went on tour with Wu-Tang. The first tour that Wu-Tang and Nas went on was with Nice and Smooth. You know what I'm saying? So it was like that was the blessing. Because our style was so intricate, it could fit into all of that. So we still was rocking. You know what I'm saying? That's the blessing today. We still touring.
Right. You guys definitely are.
So I was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? It's a blessing, you know what I'm saying? So, but, you know, you feel it. I mean, like, if a person is walking down the street, I've never been that type of dude, man. I don't know. That's just how I am. It's like, what the next person eat don't make me shit. So I'm like, that's dope. I always, like, look at the opportunity for growth. Like, I'm like, oh, bet. Let's add on to this shit. That's me. I got the add on mine. Like, what?
Right.
All right, this is going down, but let's add on. Let's add on. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, when you got people that's more or less, when you got situations where, what can an artist do if the label is not fully backing them?
Right.
You can't do nothing because you signed to them.
It's true.
Now it puts it more in an artist's favor in terms of entrepreneurialism. That you gotta get out and hustle and do what you do. You know what I'm saying? But at least you don't have somebody saying, "Nah, I don't think that it's going to work." Dude, I earned this fan base. Could you trust me a little bit? They wasn't really trusting the artist, you know, and putting people's careers in people's hands, and you know, just fucking them up. Like, yo, what? So, you know,
well,
that was more or less it.
I want to ask you about a little bit about the West Coast, but I want to just ask you this one question, and this is just a personal favorite of mine on Jewel of the Nile. You got a song called Let's All Get Down. Slick Rick is on that. Of course, around that time, Slick is just getting out. Rumor has it that his verse he laid down is actually a verse of what went on that day or the day before as you guys recorded, that you guys picked him up, went to a club, had some drinks, and then he wrote the verse. Is there any validity to that? Because if you listen to his verse, it really goes down the whole line.
Dude, let me explain something to you. That is 100% true. That is a fact. You know what I'm saying? It was so, that night was special and it was fly. You know what I'm saying? Rick had came home. You know, they had him on some house like a halfway house status or whatever. And when they brought him to the studio, they had his cuffs on him and shit. I was like, what the fuck are y'all doing? So I went to the side, I started talking to the people. I was like, we in the studio. This is what this man does. Please, come on with this bullshit, man. And like, all right. And we actually, you know how they got the fucking armed guards with them.
Right.
And after they sat in on that session, you know, he couldn't smoke no blunts, but we had bottles of champagne, everything. We had the bread, everything. Homeless, nigga. Like, you home. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, and he was feeling good. I said, yo, let's go to a club. And so the cats was just, the guards was like, all right, fuck it. Like, we got them motherfuckers in the booth. They was like, all right, fuck it, let's go. So we all went to the club. And the brother Rick was the first time back in New York, back in the club. So we went up in the club, we walked around, we chilled. He came back, he said, I got this shit. And it was like, chilling with Nice and Smooth with my Fat Farm outfit. They said, what's up? Said, oh my God. That was the whole, he round about the whole night. That was fly, man.
That's ill. That's ill. Shout out to Slick Rick the Ruler. Smooth B, let me ask you this. There's rumors of a Death Row East, and that Nice and Smooth, Greg Nice, Smooth B, may have been a group that may have been gone or signed with this Death Row East had this stuff gotten off the ground. Is there any validity to that, and what was the status of that at that time?
Yeah, absolutely. That was going to go down. Like I said, we were very close with Pac, you know what I'm saying? We was highly respected on the West Coast. And, you know, man, a couple of weeks before Pac passed, you know, he called me on the phone. We had a long conversation, and he called me back. He had Suge on a three-way with me, and we just started talking, and he, you know, it was like mutual respect. He was like, yo, man, I respect y'all cats. And plus, he did, you know, Snoop, I mean, they you know, we got so much stories around, you know, but Suge, one thing, he was a record dude, like, in terms of he knew he did his homework.
Right.
You know, and so he had already known, like, Nice and Smooth was the first group on Def Jam to own our publishing. You know, we own our catalog. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
And
that's dope.
So, yeah. So he knew that, you know, Suge. And so he came at us with that type of respect. Like, y'all own your catalog. I want to fuck with y'all. Pop said y'all the shit. You know what I'm saying? He said, y'all his niggas, let's do it. And I was like, all right, bet. So they was going to give us some heavy bread, man. And we was like, all right, let's go. And then unfortunately, everything took that turn. And I was like, not my dude, man. That shit. That shit fucked me up for a while, boy. I was like, Pop, my dude, like outside of the records or any, the controversy. If you had ever met him as a person and got a chance to really talk to him, then you would see the richness in his heart and the value of his mind. You know what I'm saying? So that was a huge loss. Like I was like, yo, this dude didn't get a chance to show the world his full potential, and they think they seen something. You know what I'm saying? Pop, he knew how to light it up on a record and cause controversy and all that, but he was a deep thinker dude and a deep loving dude. You know what I'm saying? He loves people. He loved black people. He loved people in general, but he loved black people, man. And he just wanted to see black people rise, man. That shit it was insane. I was like, what?
It's funny. I'm a real big Pac fan, and I in the midst of all that, of course, I'm East Coast. I'm from New York, from the Bronx, and I'm big East Coast. But the way Pac was just riding with the West Coast at that time, I just felt like even as an East Coast person, you couldn't help but respect it because there was some of that same kind of battle raps that we're accustomed to. What do you think the motivation was with Death Row East? Did it seem like it was? Listen, based on the interviews, which no one knows because it's what it is now, but it seemed like it was a real genuine effort to get a lot of East Coast artists that maybe had been overlooked in the East Coast at that time back to their prominence with that.
This is what I'm telling you. That's what made this shit so crazy because, like I told you before, we were still getting the love when we came out here. From the artists, from the people, you know what I'm saying? So all that other shit was really just propaganda. So when they was trying to establish the Death Row East, they was like, yo, we gonna go get the dopest motherfuckers that we know and love. Because the West Coast at that time and the labels realized that the motherfucking East Coast wasn't pushing the valuable fly motherfuckers that they had. They was like, now we really gonna show them how to do it. We gonna go get them East Coast motherfuckers that we know and love. And we gonna put the same push and attention behind them that the East should have been doing. Just to show them, and that's what it was about. They was like, nah, we just gonna get some real motherfuckers. We're gonna find all the dope motherfuckers that people don't think have the potential to go multi-platinum, and we're gonna take these motherfuckers multi-platinum. And that was genuine. They wasn't on no bullshit. I seen it firsthand. They was like, yo, let's go. I was like, woo. They was coming back for everybody. They wanted G-Rap. They wanted everybody. They wanted Mary J. Blige. They wanted Jodeci. Like, they was like, nah. It was like, back then, though his tactics was a little hectic, sure, he just was like, he would meet people, like, he'd meet Mary or Josie, and he'd be like, how much you sold on your last album? You know what? You could have sold more. Let me show you. Fuck that. You gonna sell more fucking with me. Like, he was on that, cause
now, Smooth, how does that play out? Now, we don't know what would have happened because it didn't, but had the tragic ending not happened that it did, and a Death Row East goes on, supposedly I've heard names of Kane, Nice and Smooth, G-Rap, Joe, some of the same names you said. How do you think that plays out? What happens then? Is there still a quote-unquote bad boy Death Row situation, or does it kind of materialize differently?
Yep. I'm telling you, man, on another level, I wish that it could have gotten past those two powerful individuals and because it was really just their beef that trickled down into the industry. You know what I'm saying? But if it could have got past that, just being the competitive spirit that these people were on, like, okay, I'll give you an example. Puff has a very open mind when it comes to business. So if he would have started seeing that, Puff would have been like, all right, fuck it, let me get more East Coast niggas in. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would have, I think it only could have helped for good.
Right.
Because it's not that's like one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Right.
And so sometimes it takes somebody to take something from a person and show them what they really have and shine it up for the person to really place more value on it. And then the person can recognize another diamond when it comes in the form of a piece of coal. You dig what I'm talking about?
Right.
So that, again, it never happened, but had it happened, I don't even think that would have even hurt the industry, because guess what? Everybody would have been appreciating everything that everybody else did.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. Do you think that the, having that you knew Pac personally, do you think that situation, him and Big, obviously no one knows, but him and Big, do you think that would have ever kind of just, truced out and kind of, went its own way? Or do you think that was something that was just going to, it was going to have to be one dynasty over the other, and maybe a Death Row East may have set the flag in the other territory and just annihilated one. Do you think that it was a true merit there, that it could have led to some sort of understanding, or do you think it was just, listen, Death Row's going to do what it's going to do?
Right. I think this. Like a lot of times, egos get in the way of great things happening.
Mm.
But at the same time, I think that personally, I got a chance to know Pac and I got a chance to know Biggie. Mm. And what I know for a fact is that they both loved each other.
Right.
That's the part, like, that people, they keep skipping over shit and jumping in, making this accusation, but a lot of these motherfuckers wasn't even there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was there. You know what I'm saying? So I was there when they met. Yeah, there's a whole nother story. So what I'm saying is, these dudes loved each other. So I know they would have got past the bullshit. Guess what? Because battle raps are battle raps.
Right.
People don't understand that intricate part between artists. Steel sharpens steel. So yeah, sometimes, how do you think that other people have made truces that said crazy shit about each other on records, and the next thing you know, they shaking hands and hugging and shit?
True.
Look at Jay and Nas. Them motherfuckers cool, ain't they?
Yes, true. Very true.
You know what I'm saying? So that's my point. You know what I'm saying? Had it had time and had people not lost their life. Now, loss of life is another motherfucking thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But had it not escalated to loss of life, I think the truce, of course, would have been made. Plus, I know for a fact, Pac expressed that to me. He was like, man, fuck all that, man. We did that part already. Let's bring this shit together. Because he started to realize, like, damn, man, wait a minute. We are really powerful, man. Oh, man, we starting some shit. We got two coasts coming from each other, coming against each other. And then Pac is like, yo, we in the middle of this shit. And I'm from the East Coast. Like, he like, hold up, man. This got to stop. You know what I'm saying? So, that's, it was that type of thing, man. And unfortunately, we lost two great ones. You know what I'm saying? But their music lasts forever. And even that's not enough. Especially if you got a chance to meet them and know them. That shit is just fucking crazy, dog.
Listen, here, what's crazy, Smooth, is you're exactly right. First of all, that's crazy. But listen, you being a lyrical guy, because listen, I'm gonna tell you now, lyrically, you're a lyrical guy. You got lyrics. Have you? And I need you to give me the story. I need you to give me the story. Have you ever went at someone in one of your rhymes? You got some lyrics on there, and I know there's a lot of backdrops in this thing. Were you just clean this whole time, or did you ever kind of throw some little lyrical acumen at some individuals in during your day?
All right, I'm gonna tell you. This is real talk here.
Okay.
I'm an ill dude, man. Like a lot of times, and there's other lyricists out there that don't know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes I sit down, I pen shit. Sometimes shit just jump out the sky, man. I'm like, oh shit, something will come to me. I've been an impromptu writer, and I've also been a cat that have written like I've had scrolls. So I'll go back and say, oh yeah, this fits this beat, and I snatch one out. Okay. So in two different cases. Now, when we did, I'm gonna tell you two that came to my attention that people often ask me about, and it's how to flow. When I made a statement when I said there's smooth operators, smooth imitators, but only one smooth beat, a smooth originator. Now, if you listen to what I'm saying yes, there are smooth operators,
right?
But there's smooth imitators, but only one smooth beat, a smooth originator. Because I'm the first smooth ever. Like no other rapper ever called themselves smooth. And you gotta understand, when you come up in the Bronx, you come up in hip hop, and you come up when I came up, late 70s, I started rhyming in the early 80s. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you had to work at it.
Right.
You could be in a rap battle, and if a person didn't think you beat them in the battle, you had to fight afterwards. You know,
right,
you had to physically throw them bows, nigga, for that name or whatever. Like if somebody else felt that they were smooth beat, and that's a knuckle game. We gonna have to fight after we rap.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was just that type of thing, and so I had to place the value, and I had to place the value on my smoothness. You know what I'm saying? Like Kane is my brother. So people ask me, I was like, no, that's my brother, man. I love motherfucking Kane. That's my man. But I had to make people understand and know I'm smooth. Like, don't get it confused. You know what I'm saying? And then another one, I spoke to my man Q-Tip. This is maybe 5, 6 years ago. No, more like 7. About 7 years ago. I never realized it, honestly, dude. And this had nothing to do with Tip, because I go way back with him. I got stories. But I said this song because I've been said it. You could trace back to early interviews, and people would say, Greg Knight's style is so crazy. He's something else. I said, he's abstract. You know what I'm saying? I said, Greg has an abstract style.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they, boom. So that was that. But so as we flowing, I just, when you in an artist position, you putting out records, you could tell your influence, but at the same time, you could tell when certain motherfuckers might be trying to fight your style in a way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But don't want to give you no fucking props.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I just said it in general, and I was saying it in terms of, I was like, all of the wick whack that want to be abstract, but they lack the new knack coming from way, way back. Hey, yo, Premier, please pass that Buddha sack. And people literally started running with it, like I was talking about Q-Tip because he calls himself the abstract poet.
Right.
And so I never, that shit was oblivious to my mind. And then one time somebody asked me, and I was like, what you talking about, Q-Tip? Oh, what? Is it going to I said, Tip is my man. So
right.
I was like, you bugging. So I thought it was just that one person. Then a little time about somebody else that I said, seriously? So I called up Tip. I said, yo, Tip, let me ask you something. And I told him, say, yo, Smooth, man. I never wanted to say nothing, but people he said, man, when that came out and I was in Queens, people used to come up to me all the time, like, Smooth, talking about, he's like, Smooth is my man. I was like, what, dude? But he know me enough, like, he never brought it up when I seen him, like, it always be love, like, Tip is my man.
Right.
So I was like, but when he talked, I said, Tip, man, nigga, you do know. He said, man, it's just so refreshing to talk to you about that, Smooth. He said, because I felt it to be ridiculous. And I know I said, dude, for just for the record, I had wrote that particular part of that rhyme way back. That was something I just snatched out of, here go a filler. That goes right. That goes better with what I was going to say. You dig what I'm talking about?
Right.
So I never, I've always been the type, I'm different, man. I'm from a different cloth. Like, if it's somebody I really, really don't like, I'm going to step to him. Right. And I'll pull them in. I ain't going to really talk about them on the record. I ain't going to do none of that. I'm just going, yo, let me talk to you about something. You know what I'm saying? I can't do I'm going to call you out on the record. Or I'm going to spit some subliminal action. Nah. I'm going to go, we going to talk. Unless, I'm even open to, yo, Smooth, let me battle you, man. And let's act like it. I'll do that shit, depending upon who it is. I'll battle with a motherfucker. We get some favor and laugh about it.
Right.
But,
now, being that you're there, Smooth, you're there. Now, listen, you guys travel the world, okay? You guys were in hip hop, and it's when it's the bubble's bursting. Naughty by Nature, Leaders of the New Screw, Nice and Smooth. It's busting at that point. It's a little bit past the 80s era with the KRS's, Kane and Rakim's. What is the vibe behind the scenes with artists? Are people competing? Because obviously you had the Kane and Rakim theme that was back there. You had the BDP Juice Crew theme. What is the backstories on some of that? You got your Naughty by Natures, your Nice and Smooth, your EPMDs, your Gangstars. A lot of this early '90s. Is there any? You don't really hear much about that as hip hop progresses. We hear about all of the stuff now that went on. Kane and Ra should have battled, and there was a battle that was going to take place. And Kane actually said when he was on the podcast, he said the battle he always wanted was KRS-One, and that just never materialized. What did you see? Because you're there. You're actually, as you said, you're actually there seeing this stuff. What are you seeing with the machismo, hip hop, grande lyricism? Where everyone wants that spot. Sometimes in groups and individuals. What are you seeing?
You mean like all right, break it down. You mean like from like artist to artist, or like what you mean?
Yeah, like artist to artist. Kane had him and L had a little thing. This is friendly stuff. This no one's really looking for no one. But they've had a little lyrical. LL said I'll deliver it. I'm Mr. Goodbar. I'll deliver it when your daddy ain't home. And they got in the background. There's just a lot of play stuff. Where everyone's kind of solidifying their position, whether it's a group or an individual. Right. What are you seeing? And as you guys are coming up, because you guys are kind of coming up with the next kind of generation, the Naughty by Natures, EPMDs, and that. Are you seeing any of that same kind of vibe translated as it was in the predecessors, or is it not really prevalent at that point, and no one's really looking to lay their lyrical foundation against someone else?
Right. That's how it was. I was seeing it change. Like nobody was really like if they had personal beefs, it wasn't really leaking out to the general, like, it wasn't common knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Like I hear things like this one say, yo, man, like, I saw something on internet, something like about, I think, Chief Murray and Mobb Deep or something had something. I would never know that. Like, I was totally oblivious to any of that. Like, because nobody carried it like that. Like, it was crazy because Nice and Smooth took a rare position in hip hop.
Right.
And I'll tell you why. It was because of the time that we came up in. And as we started seeing it change, we knew all of these young brothers and sisters that was coming into it. Basically, we knew they needed help. You know, understanding what the fuck they was about to get off into. You know what I'm saying? Because fortunately, like Greg worked with T. La Rock, I worked with Bobby Brown, I traveled around the world with him. So I saw all of the intricate pieces to different puzzles. And then when me and Greg hooked up, we started to realize we knew a lot of the same people. So we started hanging out with Melly Mel and Scorpio and my man Dynamite. Big shout out to Dynamite and Grandmaster Caz. I would always hang with those cats.
Right.
And they dropped jewels on me. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, bet. So as time was coming on, I was fascinated. Like, people used to bug out, oh, yeah, I make melodic music and all that, but I mean, I'm from the hood, you know what I'm saying? So people used to bug out, be like, yo, Smooth is so smooth, but if you check out his playlist, this was like mid-late 80s, you hearing all Bob Deep and niggas talk about blowing faces off, but they was doing it so artistically and creative. I was enjoying that shit. Them beats was fire. So I was like, yeah, I'm bumping that kind of shit. So I don't know, I was kind of like uncle, man. I was like an uncle to a lot of motherfuckers. So when I would see all of them, I'm like, what's up, y'all? And I just always be the one dropping a jewel and, hey, yo, try this, man, do that, man. Oh, yeah, watch this, watch that, or whatever. You know, but it never, I didn't know what the intricate beats were at all. And I didn't know what direction it was going in. I didn't know I couldn't really count the shift.
Right.
You know, and then the next thing you know, this fucking shift just happened. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, they doing it like this now? It's just like how 1 minute you got the 5 majors or whatever, and then the next thing you know, you got the internet. You're like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's fucking crazy. It just happened. You know, but certain things you can foresee and certain things you can't.
You seem to always have a little bit of spirituality in your lyrics. You always had a message and most of your stuff. Which was a difference kind of between you and Greg Nice. Greg was more of the party, and you know the last word would kind of double up. But you've always had like a message, a spiritual, somewhat insight to some of that stuff. Was that done on purpose, or you know, or what was your thing with that?
Yeah, because that's me. That's who I am. That's how I am. You know what I'm saying? I believe in God. I believe in the creative force of the universe. You know, I believe there are same forces within each and every one of us. So that's why I just, you know, that's how I flow. You know what I mean? Like I got to talk about different things. I got to talk about how I am, you know, how I see things, you know, from my perspective. And, you know, there's no me without the Most High. There's none of us without God. So That's my personal belief. And so I stand on it. I always slide something in there, you know what I'm saying, just to let people know, nah, man, it's more than this, you know what I'm saying? This is good, but, you know, it's greater levels to this, you know?
Now, seeing how you come up, especially with your lyrical acumen, how do you see hip hop now? What do you see, or rap music? I probably say rap music before I say hip hop. But what do you see in the music now versus the time frame that we're talking about, that you're coming up in, the early '90s? Is it disappointing, or are you encouraged? How do you foresee it right now? Where do you think it's going?
Let me tell you something, buddy. To be truthfully honest with you, the last few years been depressing. Like, maybe I won't say the last few, you know, but 10 years ago, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I was like, well, what the fuck is going on? Come on, y'all. What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Even now, I saw some shit. This dude, I don't even know the guy's name. This dude showed me a video when I was in the Bronx. I was in New York like 2 weeks ago. And he's like, Smooth, you got to see this shit. Because every time I come back to New York, people coming to me, I go back to my old block and all that. And people coming to me and they be like, yo, Smooth, you heard this dude shit? And I'm like, well, what is it? You know what I'm saying? They was like, hit me in the head. So this cat hit me in the head. And the artist had on a wedding dress, dog. Yo, this dude had on a wedding dress, and then part of the video, he had his man with a machine gun, whatever, put the gun in his mouth, he on his knees. I'm like, yo, like he fellatioing the gun. I was like, yo, what the fuck? So I'm like, yo, man, I don't know. But then you got guys, oh man, shit is crazy. Then you got lyricists that pop out of the blue, like Kendrick, like my man, J. Cole, you know what I'm saying? Cats that that spit some shit. Drake, I like Drake. Motherfuckers give Drake a hard time. I was like, that motherfucker dope though. He write a song. It's a songwriting motherfucker there. You know, and you can't front. You can't front. You know what I'm saying? Eminem. I don't even know why a motherfucker could even try to ask the question about can Eminem spit.
Right.
You fucking crazy.
Right.
That's a rhyming ass motherfucker right there.
Right.
So, you know, to me, you know, I don't know, people just find things to cling to and things to talk about. But I'm like, man, listen, man, you know, I have faith in this shit. You know, I got to be honest with you. I do believe that life goes in cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to see more creative people getting an opportunity and being heard. So
Right.
It's starting to become real refreshing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I stay banging out shit. I'm always writing. I'm always in the lab making up something new. You know what I'm saying? And so, and I've been blessed. My kids rhyme and they sing and all that shit. So, you know, hey, man, in God's time, you know, I want to bless the world with that. When they hear my C's, motherfuckers going to know. They're like, whoa, this is really. So,
listen,
other than that, everything else, yeah, man.
Smooth, this is an incredible interview. I appreciate you coming on. I got to ask you, though, because you dropped a jewel that a lot of people don't really know about. And, you know, how did you and Greg, how were you guys able to secure your whole deal when you got with Def Jam? Because that's to get your that's something that everyone doesn't do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, basically, you know, that's why they say reading is fundamental. You know what I'm saying? And knowledge is power. The thing is, when Sleeping Bag went out of business, you know, you got to imagine. So we came into the game. We wasn't new to this. We was trying to be as true as we possibly could to this. So we came in when we went to when we got down with Sleeping Bag. We already had our own little publishing situation already secured. But in 1989, nobody owned their own publishing. So Sleeping Bag was an opportunity for us. So they were looking at us like, "Oh, you out your fucking mind?" You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, y'all got to give us some of that shit. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
We ended up doing a 50-50 split. And a lot of terms in that first Sleeping Bag agreement, they didn't agree to, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, man, who y'all think y'all are? Michael Jackson? You know what I'm saying? They was looking at us like he was crazy. He was like, nah, we want this, we want that. They was like, nah, I can't have that, motherfucker, he's crazy. So we put a clause in there, and the clause stipulated that if the record company should ever fold or file Chapter 11 or whatever and go under, you know, what you call that shit, bankrupt. If they, you know, file for bankruptcy, we retain 100% of our publishing. And so that's the only clause. That's one of the only clauses they agreed to because at that time they couldn't foresee themselves going under foreclosure.
Right.
So it worked in our favor. That one fucking clause. So then we got it back. You know what I'm saying? And then Def Jam picked us up.
Smooth.
And, and the rest was history. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, so, Smooth, that's crazy. And you're on IG in 2018. You've got some projects coming up. What do you got going up this new year?
Okay, so for the new year, man, I'm putting a few things together. I got this reality show pending. You know what I'm saying? I got a few things. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be just like how when you heard the nice&smooth album. I'm coming with the Barnes family Barnes family brand. You know, that's my family, my seeds. You know what I'm saying? And they dope, man. And so I'm putting some TV shit together, and just different things. But first and foremost, I'm working on their music and working on their albums and everything. And I'm coming with my long-awaited solo, man. I gotta give it to the people. People come to me all the time. They go, "Smooth, man, I just want to hear you. When you gonna give us a solo, man?" So, all right, I'm gonna give y'all a whole album. Over the years, I've given you one song or two songs here. Jungle Premiere, All Game Over. I'll put this out. I said, all right, I'm gonna sit down and give y'all a full project. So that's what I'm gonna do.
We gotta look forward to that right there. Go ahead, Smooth.
Absolutely. I'm gonna send you shit, man, and I got some treats for you.
Well, Smooth B, where can the viewership get a hold of you? Where are you at on IG, email? If they want to book you, how can they get a hold of you?
Okay, I'm on IG. I'm Smooth Boss on IG, on Instagram. I'm the real Smooth B on Twitter. I don't be on Twitter that much though, to be honest with you. And I gotta get another Facebook page because I got enough followers on it. So IG. And my email is production8.
Okay.
Production and the word 8 at yahoo.com. So, y'all want to, whatever, send some fly ass beats, DM me on IG. That's Smooth Boss on IG. And we'll take this shit to the next level.
My brother Smooth B, man, I appreciate the time. Man, thank you for stopping through. You are a legend. It's been an honor having you on the hashtag Basement Flow is Real. It's been a pleasure, my brother.
Yes, my brother. Thank you so very much, beloved.
Hashtag Basement Flow is Real. My name's Dave Cannon. We're out of here.